Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Livening. In this episode, I'll be trying the new geometry nodes in Blender, and currently it's only available under Blender 2.92 Alpha and under Experimental Geometry Nodes branch. So if you want to download it, you download this version of Blender, and so you have here I have 2.92 Alpha, and in order to have this available for you, you need to enable it. You need to enable developer extras, and it's already on. Normally you need to turn on geometry nodes, so it's already on. And the way it works, so this geometry nodes is available via modifier, and it's supposed to be called geometry nodes here, or called nodes. Currently it's just being called empty. So probably this is a bug, but this is a still very early version of geometry nodes. So you can see here, it says empty modifier with geometry nodes. So what's gonna happen now with this default cube? Okay, if we switch to this, we have this geometry node editor. So we can switch to this panel, and you can see there's a group input and a group output. And if we go Shift A, we got all the usual nodes. You can check it out. I recommend you to take a look very quickly. So there is a random attribute, color, geometry input. The one that we're gonna be using today. We're not gonna look at point distribute yet, but we're gonna take a look at maybe just geometry transform and geometry Boolean. So even just a couple of nodes can take you quite far. So let's try transform. So if we have geometry, and if you plug this input as input, so this guy is going to be the input and the output, so we have nothing. But if we start to play around with these transformations, we can translate, we can rotate. The rotation is in degree, and we can scale. So we have actually quite a couple of options. So let's try resetting this. So currently, I don't know if they have reset. Maybe in the future they have reset. Actually, Blender have shortcut to reset everything. But for now, just reset the number. So let's try doing something really simple. So let's save this as geometry node. So this is the first look. So we can do something with this. Let's try making kind of like a random scale, if you like. We can let's turn on cavity so we can see the edge. I want to introduce Boolean very quickly, but I also want to introduce random. So let's try random float. So don't use random attribute yet. That's a little bit more complicated. So random float, let's try plugging this in there. So here, if we give this minimum and maximum value and randomize the seed, you can see the cube is changing size. So this is random value plug into scale. So all the X, Y, Z scale being affected by this random float. So this is very cool already. And if you can see here, there's a kind of like a ghosted slot. If we actually pass this seed out, we can now use this modifier and control this scale. If we actually have a torus, for example, and we assign empty, and we type in the same geometry nodes, doing this will randomize its scale. Very interesting, right? In fact, we can actually change this maximum value, randomize the seed. So this two object now can randomize its own scale independently. So what does this mean? So if we have another cube and we use the same modifier, we can have a different result by simply using a different seed. So this alone is already quite powerful. Okay, so that's the first thing to know. So let's do something more now, and maybe use this ability to randomize and also geometry Boolean. So this is a Boolean operation similar to this Boolean over here, but we are working inside this node tree, so we can reuse the same objects. We can make a cutter, etc. Okay, so we already have a way to randomize this cube. So let's try this first. Create another transform, pass in our original geometry, and just skip everything, and then we can get back our original cube, default cube, and we're just gonna scale it in X and Y. We can actually do something like this. Combine X, Y, Z, create a value, float. And okay, there's a float compare. I just want an attribute. A value, X and Y, plug into the vector. The Z is now 0. Let's just increase this to 1. So now we can control the X and Y this way. And yeah, this is our second geometry. Let's combine the two, for example, for now. So Boolean, as usual, have intersect, union, and difference. Let's just use union for now. So we are combining our big cube and this other cube. So this value also something that we can pipe up there. Okay. So let's see. This is our original value. We can do it this way. Create a math. Create a math node. Pipe in one value out, so we can control this value, and this one can be piped there. So it's just going to be the offset into this guy. So now we can control the size of the second cube and also randomize the first one. So what are we creating? We don't know yet. This is just like a combination of the two. Okay, so you can use other modifier, but for now, if you try to use other modifier, it's gonna hide this node somehow. Let me show you. I already saved the blend. If we use a bevel, so the bevel works. But if as soon as I click outside, this one disappears. Maybe that's a bug. Maybe that's not a good thing for now. But this is still alpha Blender, so you will definitely found a lot of bugs. So you can do things like subdivide if you like, subdivision surface, so that will work as usual. Plug this in, plug that in, so you have this. You can make, I don't know what it is, but that will work. So with the scale, you can randomize this and the value. Let's adjust this value. Also, it's always nice to have some kind of offset like this guy. So we have another value here that we can use as an offset. This is all using nodes, and this is a way to think procedurally and parametrically as well. So you're adjusting the value, and then you're using some kind of math. It's not always something easy at first, but you will see it's really powerful. So let's try, instead of using union, we can use something like difference. So we already have something that's unusual, a little bit abstract. Let's use the difference is actually a minus b. Okay, so if we kind of switch that around, we have something that's more interesting, of course. So we can use subdivide on this guy also. So suddenly we have a way to create this kind of like a toy or UFO. In fact, you can bring back, so after the subdivision we are using it as a Boolean, but if we use again the same thing, we're gonna get back the original one after subdivisions. This guy. Yeah, I thought that's kind of a little bit like a UFO. We can still adjust the thickness. Randomize the seed. And this guy is now made of 2 different parts. So I think it's more interesting like that for now. So like I said, we can make duplicates, and each duplicate can have different value. And suddenly it's becoming really powerful. In fact, you can randomize this using something like a spreadsheet add-on. So still, this thing works with spreadsheet add-on. For now, I'm not gonna do too much. So seems like, yeah, okay, we still have our thing. So you can see it's geometry nodes being used by 20 different objects. Each one can have different seed value and this random value as well. So if we use like something like spreadsheet nodes, we want to randomize the seed, we can use object ID set select every object in the scene. We want to modify this seed modifier. Okay, I don't know if this is possible yet. If you right click and copy data path, okay, let me try command option control shift copy paste. Command option shift copy. Okay, that's the one I want. BPY data objects settings. Supposedly I get the modifiers. node groups. Oh well, I guess don't worry about that for now, I guess. But what I was trying to do is to use the object ID set to control the objects and randomize the attributes. You can, however, do something like this. So this will work. That's randomizing the position of every object, and every object is of course different. So you can make quite an interesting design very quickly. So each object now is this kind of disk with a hole that you can always go back to, and you can change the sizing, the minimum and the maximum. It's quite stable as well. If you want something that's more interesting, like with the random value here, let's say let's combine the x, y, z, and we are using random float, but we're gonna use random. Each one of them will get a different value and a different seed simply by randomizing the seed value. So we have one seed, we have two seed that we can simply plug in there. So now if I plug into these two x, y, and z, we can combine them and randomize the scale. So now we have something that's also completely different. So you can see here, sometimes it gives like a circle, sometimes it gives something that's completely different. So I thought that's it's really neat way to work with. So this is just a basic introductions to geometry nodes. And again, we can actually randomize the modifiers. If I can get to the modifiers here, to the node 3, modifiers name empty. I think we can do it this way. So BPY data objects, cube, and then for example, and then go to data modifier or under. So yeah, we can do it this way. Modifiers empty. And we can paste in our input. So we can use random value to randomize our input. So it should be float. So I believe it should work. total scope. Let's check it out. So objects, modifiers, empty, settings. So that's a value that's coming in. It should be an integer. So objects that are correct, object value. Maybe we need to split the value. Oh well, at this point it's getting weird. But see, you can see we can get all the value of the seed value from all of these objects modifier. I don't know why it's not working. At least we can randomize the positions, I guess. So anyway, I went too far. Let's go back to geometry nodes, and we can see here we can change the value. Something changed here with the seed value. Yeah, somehow it wasn't copied, so it's probably I just hit a bug somewhere. So when we open, so each and every object here should have seed value that we can control using sphere chop if we want to, or using another method, you know, like using Python. But anyhow, it's a very interesting way of working. So this is seed value coming in. We can adjust that, and also we can adjust the size. Maybe after we combine the random XYZ here, we can use vector math. And simply multiply this. So there's a snap, scale, okay, scale. That's kind of what I want. Type in the scale out. So we can control the scale, the value, and the seed for each one of these objects. So I definitely went too far, but yeah, so again, we only using the basic of this. So we actually use subdivisions. Maybe I should have kept it to the cube, so it's a little bit simpler. It's still pretty abstract, you know, sometimes, but it's very cool. So geometry nodes, currently it's residing under this modifier, which is very cool because we can use it with other modifier. We can actually, if you really want, you can use the same modifier twice, but probably not for now. So there you go. We have random frame simply by using this simple nodes. Transform, Boolean, sub-d. So don't underestimate the nodes, because even just a bunch of simple nodes can really generate something that's quite complicated. So let's just keep it like this for now. Keep it simple. And in fact, we have ability to scale this as well in the z-axis that maybe I should pipe out. So we have seed value, this scaling value. We have also the z-axis control. So this is how we can make random frames. And of course this works not only with a frame. If we use the monkey or a donut, what's going to happen? If we use the same geometry modifier, assign it, so it's going to give us really weird result. Let's keep nothing. Okay, anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully this is useful, and I'll try these nodes again tomorrow with a different setup, and I will try the same geometry nodes with a point cloud. So point cloud is looking like this, but we can also use point cloud and geometry modifier, which is pretty interesting to think about it. Okay, so alright, so thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.